This is an ortho-K case where the patient is a little bit undercorrected in both eyes. Looking at the right eye, this is a hyperopic case, patient's plus 50 minus 1. I'm not sure if that's really the initial prescription, but it's a really low prescription to be molding. In this case, my assumption is you're just trying to mold out the cylinder, or maybe the plus 50 is causing problems for the patient. For clinical support and also just from a personal standpoint, I don't really have very much experience for hyperopic molding, and the clinical support I provide is normally for myopic cases. So I'm not going to be able to help you too much with the right eye, except given it's just a low prescription. More cylinder component than sphere is generally, whether it's plus sphere or minus sphere, it's generally very difficult to do. I have seen it done, but not with regular success. And for a newer wave practitioner, it might be just a big expense without much fruit in terms of visual results. But I will address the lens for the left eye. This is a more traditional compound myopic astigmat, and the patient still has a residual prescription of minus 50, and resulting in 20/40 vision. So in this case, I don't know exactly what the post-wear topographies look like. I think there was a question about the size of the lens also. Normally what I do is I set the overall diameter to about 0.2 millimeters smaller than the overall diameter as measured on the topography. So with an 11.1 millimeter lens, I would expect this patient to have an 11.3 cornea. If the cornea is a little bit bigger or smaller than that, then you can adjust the diameter accordingly. 0.2 millimeters less than the horizontal visible iris diameter is usually what I shoot for, and it tends to work out pretty well. As far as the undercorrection goes, minus 50 gives us about 3/4 of a diopter EDS undercorrection. And so to take care of that, what we want to do is increase the demand of the lens about 3/4 of a diopter. So right now we're starting with a plus 70. If we want 75 more, then our target's going to be about a plus 1.4 or so. And for a cornea or for a prescription of minus 2 1/4, minus 1 1/4, a resulting power of plus 1.4 is probably a pretty reasonable place to shoot for. So in 100% mode, I'm just going to click up here, and you'll see we're increasing the space underneath the reverse curve all the way until we get to about 1.4, and that's pretty close. Now the other thing I'm also going to do is in 25% mode, go through the different meridians and make sure that they're all pretty close to 1.4. Sometimes when we make changes, for example here, we're at 154, I can probably bring this down so it's just more uniform compared to the rest of the lens. And it looks like we can adjust a few of these so that they're closer. Okay, so we're right around 1.4 all the way around the lens right now. And we've got increased demand, and this should help with the patient's residual prescription. Another note is I see that we're designing in freeform right now. On a cornea like this, it does have some irregularity here, but it's close to the optic zone of the lens. The periphery looks fairly regular, and so I would normally just design a G-SIM lens for a patient like this. Freeform is one of the really great advantages to wave lenses, but sometimes it's not necessary, and introducing into the case causes complications that we don't really want later on. So I think in a case like this, I didn't change it here in the video, but I think it's perfectly fine to design this lens in G-SIM. It'll still fit really well, and then for future troubleshooting, it's sometimes easier to not it's easier to troubleshoot a GSIM lens than it is to troubleshoot a freeform lens because of its increased complexity. I think there is also a question about whether there's too much sag. I don't know what the post-wear topographies look like or exactly how the lens was fitting on the eye. There is a little bit of clearance here, 0.8. It's not a bad idea to have good seal-offs on the periphery, so sometimes what I'll do is I will click down until we get around 2, maybe 3 microns of clearance, just to make sure that the edge of the lens is really settling down on the mid-periphery of the cornea and forming a good seal. In this case, I'm not sure you absolutely have to do it. I think increasing the demand of the lens will take care of just about most of that over a residual prescription and get the patient seeing pretty well. So I hope this helps, and good luck with the patient.